All right, so we're going to go through just the equations for arithmetic and geometric and some examples and finding an actual term in this video. So what does it mean to be arithmetic? It's when we're adding and subtracting from term to term. And it has to be the same constant every time. So an example, if I wanted to start, I could go 0, 3, 6, 9, ... So this is adding 3 each time. Okay, you could also be subtracting. So kind of what is our equation? So this is going to represent our first term in our sequence. This is going to be the difference or distance you're traveling. So what are you adding or subtracting? And this is going to be the term number or the term you're trying to find. So if I'm trying to find the fifth term, okay, notice that the ends are here and here. So that's what you're going to put the exact same number in for both of them. So if you're trying to find the sixth term, both those ends will be 6. Okay, this little subscript here is just like when you learn slope intercept. When you plug numbers in for y2 and y1, so 2 and 1 disappear a little bit. Okay, so if we're trying to find a specific, if I give you a specific term, it's going to change how that subscript is written. Okay, so it's not a times n, it's a little subscript. So first, I want you to see if you can figure out what you're adding and subtracting by for all of these terms. So pause the video and see if you can figure that out. Okay, the first one we are adding 2. The next one we are subtracting 1.2. Okay, one thing that you can do is subtract backwards. If you're confused, take the opposite and go backwards. Okay, the next one we are adding 6. And then this one we are adding 3.7. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to find the 7th term. So I'm going to find, if I continued my sequence, what would the 7th term be? So if I go up into this equation up here, so I'm going to say a sub 7, the first term of the sequence is 2, plus the distance I'm traveling is 2, and then I'm plugging in the 7th term. It will not always be 7. So those 7s can interchange. All right, now in my PEMDAS, parentheses come first. So 7 minus 1 gets me to 6. There are no exponents, so the next thing I do is multiply. 2 times 6 is 12. And when I add them, my 7th term is 14 if I kept it going. So for my next one, finding the 7th term, my first term is 2.4. I am going the distance of 1.2. I plug my 7 in, work my parentheses first, work my multiplication. A negative 1.2 times a positive 6 will keep it negative. So I'm going to get negative 7.2. And then 2.4 minus 7.2, run out of space here, is negative 4.5. So go ahead and pause the video and try 3 and 4 on your own. See if you can do it without my help. Okay, this one, first term, distance I'm traveling. Six times 6 is 36. Add those together, and we get 20. Our next one here, 72.4 plus 3.7. 7 minus 1, so 3.7 times 6. Okay, so 72.4 plus 22.2. So my 7th term then is 94.6. Okay, so there's our arithmetic. Now we're going to go to geometric. So our geometric equation, what does it mean to be geometric? We are multiplying term to term. It is never dividing. Okay, never divide. So an example, 5, 25, 125. Okay, that's being multiplied by 5 each time. So similarly in this sequence, they always start with the first term. So here's our first term again. The next thing was the letter D on the last one. So then we have our letter R. So that's my rate or my ratio that I multiply by. And I always keep that in parentheses every single time. The book won't show it to you in parentheses. I would put it in parentheses because then you will never be wrong. Okay, n is the term you're trying to find. So your term number again, and then notice it's also right here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out what they're multiplying by. So I want you to pause the video and see if you can try them. Some are a little bit harder than others. All right, so the first one is multiplies by 3. Ooh. All right, my next one is multiplies by 1/3. So if you notice, all of those bottom numbers are multiplying by 3. All the top ones stay 1, and we stay negative. So multiplying by 1/3. Okay, if you're not sure, what you can do is divide backwards. So we're multiplying forwards, opposite of multiply is divide. So if I take this divided by this, so 9 divided by 3, it will tell me what I multiply by forwards. It's a little bit harder when you have a lot of fractions. So I would put those fractions in parentheses. So I would do -1 divided by 3, or I have to do the second one first, divided by parentheses, -1 divided by 3. And then it's going to shoot out 0.33333. You have to press your math. You should be on frac, so then you'll just press enter twice, and it will pop out that same thing. So for my next one, we're multiplying by 1/4. So if you do 4 divided by 16, it'll probably tell you 0.25, and then you can press your math frac button, enter, enter, and it should pop out that 1/4. Okay, this next one, we are multiplying by -2/3. So notice we go positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay, that's my flipping that's happening. Right, if you look at all the tops, my tops you can see are multiplying by 2. My bottoms you can see are multiplying by 3. So that's kind of how we're getting that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is find the 7th term. So if I go back up here, we're going to use this equation. So the first thing we're going to do is g sub 7 is equal to the first term, the rate we multiply by, and then 7 minus 1. So then when we actually go in here, so g of 7 is equal to, the only thing you have to do by hand is this. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is go to your calculator. And mine's still frozen. So you're going to type in 3 parentheses 3, and then you're going to hit the caret symbol and then type in 6 and press enter. What you should get is 2,187. So for the next one over here, let me erase what's in here so I have some space. I'm going to do g sub 7 is equal to, the first term is -1/3. I'm multiplying by 1/3, 7 minus 1. So really that's going to get me a 6 right here. Okay, so when you're typing it in, you're going to do negative. Make sure you use the negative symbol, not the minus symbol. That's, if you're getting an error, that's where it's coming. 1 divided by 3, parenthesis, 1 divided by 3, the caret symbol, and then the 6. And then press your math frac for all these. I prefer to keep them in fraction, especially since they're already written in fraction. This is what you should get for your 7th term then. So then the next one, I would pause the video actually and try 3 and 4 without me. So 3, here is your general equation. Your answer you should get is 1/256. You can use 0.25 instead of 1/4. Some kids like to do that so that you don't have to retype that fraction in. And then my last one here, 2/3, -2/3, 7 minus 1. So g sub 7 is 128 over 2,187. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is create a video on the book lesson 3. So there's a couple of story problems that you should definitely look at the book lesson for. If you're going through these equations and you already watched this video and you're seeing the exact same thing in the book, I would just skip through the video on the equation part.